Welcome back to Big Bris TV, and if you saw my last video, you know that I'm a proficient, expert fighter jet pilot. What with the precision aerial maneuvers and the buttery smooth landings. I'm ready to move on to the next stage of my flying career. So with that, that's going to be training. These young bulls coming up now under me, we're going to teach them how they can be an expert ace pilot just like me. And I did all of that amazing stuff with this Freewing 64mm EDF. This is the F-16 Fighting Falcon. You may have seen the recently released 90mm version of this jet. It's full of scale details down to the pilot and even the paint scheme. And a little history about aggressive paint schemes. Just think of it in terms of training. These fighter pilots go up and they want to defend against enemies, right? Your ops. So how do you do that to train? Think of it like in a basketball game, shirts versus skins. These would be the skins, battleship gray birds, and then the shirts would be the aggressor or the enemy, and they have a different paint scheme. This way you could easily identify who your enemy is. And so I was thinking, maybe I could do a custom paint job on this bird. I have a box full of paints from my other exploits. The problem is those are all polycarbonate paints, and I don't know, I don't want to go out and have to buy EPO foam safe paints to do this paint job. And so I'm thinking, well, how can I do something with what I have? Okay. I took out one color. This is that army green, right? And I took a piece of the packing foam from the box that this plane came in, and I sprayed a bit. You can see right here where I sprayed the paint on heavily, the chemicals ate right into the foam, right? But over here where it was sprayed lightly, the foam wasn't affected at all. It'd be nice to see how it's made on foam planes. But if you can see these little dots, they look like maybe extrusion points or whatever. Sometimes those are present on our planes. And here, all around the plane, right, has those little markings. Plus, I'm gonna treat this battleship gray paint job as a primer, right? And so, what do we need to do? Choose the colors. On this side of the plane where there was some glue that squoze out, it squeezed out when I pushed the wing on when I was it, and then I tried to wipe it off with a wet rag. It pulled off some of the paint. So I tried to mask it with my marker, but whatever. We're gonna paint this anyway, right? So now that I got the maiden flight in on this thing and it didn't blow it up, let's see if we could paint it and hook it up and just put our personal stank on it. I think I'm gonna go, which color scheme do you guys use? So those paint cans are by no means full. There's only a little bit of paint in each of these. We'll see what we could get out of that as we heat it up. And hopefully we won't get this. Next thing we're gonna need to do is mask it off. I have the remnants of this frog tape. So we're gonna mask off, leave only exposed what we wanna do with the first color. And I had to take a break and re-up on my frog tape. The yellow one ran out and they didn't have it, so I got the green one. I think this is the original one, but it should still do the job. So you can see the progress that I've made so far. Basically what I'm doing is I'm taping off the parts that I don't want to paint or that I want to stay gray. So I'm gonna end up taping pretty much the whole plane, leaving these sections that I want to paint white visible. Then I'll paint it white, and then I'll go layer over layer and paint the other colors, the blues that I want to do. This stuff is pretty expensive, but I'll leave a link in the description so where you can get this at a good deal. And these tubs come in handy for screws and whatever, drywall screws when you're painting. I really like this stuff. All right, so I got the plane taped up. I know some of you are gonna be like, hey, why not just leave it like that? It looks like an aggressor to me. It looks like a plain mummy actually. But yeah, got this thing taped up. Every place that I want to remain gray is taped. and then the exposed areas that you see gray, it's gonna be painted blue. And look, I know my painting videos don't do that well as far as views is concerned and interaction, but I do it for that one guy who's looking on how to paint his plane, or how to get an idea or get some inspiration for changing the color of his plane around. I know these foam planes get crashed a lot and get rebuilt. So if you're rebuilding your plane, you might want to touch it up, and this might be a way to do it. So if this is successful, which I hope it's going to be, we'll have another option. So frog tape, we got the yellow kind, which is a bit thinner than the green. I forgot about this, but when I busted open the green pack of frog tape, I saw that it's much thicker. It's like a traditional masking tape, but it's really a thicker weight paper. Another trick I did was in the seams for the flaps. This is one of those free scissors you get in a home grooming set, and just was able to press down in there. Not too deep. There's gonna be some overspray that gets under there, but it's okay. It's like a camo paint job. So as far as taping off the underside of the bird, I've only done in areas where the tape just folded over under the plane. I left it there. I'm gonna leave the underside of this plane mostly gray and white for visibility purposes. I may splash some blue in there, but we'll get to that on like stage 3 or 4. So on to the next step. We got the paint blued in. Doesn't look like much yet, but let's start pulling this tape off. Hey, I totally forgot that those blues were metallic sprays, and I ran out of all 3 of them. So there's a mix. But it looks like it went on pretty good. And the foam doesn't look like it had any adverse reaction to it. So let's get this tape pulled off. The areas I want to stay gray, like the front area, the nose here, I'm going to leave the tape on here. But these other areas, let's see the contrast. I left the tape on the tail and the exhaust area in this area because I want to touch up this area with some white. You can see the original paint peeled off. I was a little too aggressive pulling off the frog tape. We have some other areas like in here. Some of that is glue, some of that is tape pulling off the original paint. Here, some of this decal was pulled off, and a little bit of paint right here. But we're gonna go over this with some white, and so that blue is not as dark as I thought it was gonna be. We got some really dark blue there and there. I ran out of that blue in short order, so we got a little bit over here. And like I said, I left the face of the bird covered. My pitot tube, the small part broke off. I didn't realize that. So I'm gonna figure out a new one with a nose cone. Is $4 from Motion, but I'll try to figure out something for that. And if we swing it around to this side, the area where the servo is, I painted, so that's no longer sticking out like a sore thumb. We got a little spatter there and there. Can you see? Can't really tell. Maybe some right there you can see. but it goes with the whole camo, you know, aggressor look, I guess. So let's get some white on here. Okay, so got the white sprayed in. This was the very last bit of paint that I sprayed in there. As you can see from the little spittle marks there. That was it. That happens when you get to the bottom of the paint can. This Tamiya polycarbonate paint, it dries really quickly, so it smells strong though. So do this outside if you can, or in a well-ventilated area if you're gonna do this. I feel like I'm ready to party. Let me get this unwrapped so we can see what it looks like. And there you have it. We got it all unwrapped. It looks pretty good. There are a couple of blims, you know, like in that area where the original paint peeled off yet again. Some right there. But it's white. So, you know, now that we got the aggressor look, the Big Bris TV aggressor style look, it's not that noticeable. I do have a set of these, all of the decals coming, and I have a pilot coming, so you guys are going to want to stay tuned for that. When that comes, I'll hopefully have a different brand battery we can try out, and we'll get this thing up in the air and see if I can get some real greasy landings in. Hey, this is Big Bris. If you like what you saw, hit the thumbs up. If you didn't like what you saw, still hit the thumbs up and subscribe. And send me money. No, I'm just joking about the money part. The best way you could support me and the channel is watch another video. So, a couple up there. You can find, I have a playlist right here. So, when I first started flying, we just hit the 3-month mark a couple days ago. So, I've only been flying for 3 months. Hey, Big Bris saying everybody stay well. And I'll catch you on the next one. You know, I only used about a half a roll of that frog tape, so that was worth it. I think I paid about 10 bucks for this. I'll leave a link in the description. This frog tape, this green one is a little bit thicker than the yellow one. Frog tape, yes. And these Tamiya color paints, these are the Tamiya paints, the PS paints for polycarbonate. So it worked. I didn't get any adverse reaction like we got when I sprayed this foam. This might not be the exactly same foam. I don't know, EPO, EPS, ES. If you spray it on heavy, this will happen. It'll start eating up the foam. But if you spray it on lightly, that'll happen. And the other thing I noticed is that with this type of foam, once you spray it, you see the texture. That texture looks like leather, right? On some plates like this, my P51, you can see with the paint, the texture of the foam. But then on this jet, in more high-end jets, they tend to get it really smooth. So there's areas where you can't really even see the texture pronounced so much. And then back here on the tail, you can see it a bit more. So look at the difference between here, say, and here. All right, it's more smooth there. Just thought I'd point that out.